So I've decided to do a new series on Telechron clocks and Telechron clock repair. If you've watched any of my older videos, you're probably not going to learn anything new from this series. But I'm going to start with this 3H73 Domino. And this is a truly time-only clock made in the 30s by Telechron. So, time only, the strict definition of it includes alarm clocks, but I use time only. I'm talking about a clock that just tells you the time, no alarm, no chimes, nothing else. So I'm going to start with from this one right here, and I'll repeat some of the things that I've said in the past. The first thing that I want to say is that I want to be able to use a common language when talking about these clocks and their parts. So this is an exploded view of the H1 movement. And I can tell you right now, regardless of technically whatever movement is in this domino, these are the parts that are going to be in there. Okay, but instead of saying things like, well, you take that thing and you put it on the other thing and then you put that other thingy on there, I'm going to use what Telechron called these parts. Now, this is out of a clock repair manual from, I believe, 1950, and it is on a website. I'm going to put clockhistory.com is the name. I'm going to put that in the description so you can get there and look at it. It's a great resource. It shows you an exploded view of a number of different movements, not all of them, and it also has the listing of parts for a number of the models that were made from 1932 onward. So doesn't have all of the models, but a pretty good amount of them are there, and so it can be used as a parts interchange. So this is our common language that we'll use, and you'll hear me refer to the front plate screws and the front plate. If we look at number 4, it says HH sleeve assembly. That's hour hand sleeve assembly. I'm going to call that the hour hand sleeve. MH sleeve assembly, that's the minute hand sleeve. Over here, rotor unit, just going to call that the rotor. The field and coil assembly, just going to call that the coil. Okay, so some of the things are a little bit different, but that's just the common way that they're referred to by most people that work on these clocks. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the clock and I'm going to put it face down on something soft. So this is just a piece of foam that I got from some clock I bought, was in there as the packing material. I'm going to put it down like this. Now, I've cut off the cord, and what I would say about this is I don't want these clocks to be a hazard. So a lot of these clocks, the cords are very deteriorated and can be really dangerous. The rubber insulation is all cracked and falling off. Just as a policy, when I rebuild a clock, I always replace the cord. If your cord is still in good condition, of course, you can just go ahead and use that. But I cut off the cord before I do anything else. And this is going to bring us to the first big stumbling block people have when they're working on these Telechron clocks, and that is the set knob. Now, almost always, the set knob is what we call reverse threaded, which means that is the opposite of the way you would typically unscrew something. So you may have heard lefty loosey, righty tighty. In this particular situation with reverse thread, lefty is not loosey, lefty is tighty. So if I want to get this off, I've got to turn it to the right. I've got to turn it clockwise. Okay, turning it counterclockwise to the left is just going to tighten the set knob on the shaft even more. And sometimes you'll see these where they're snapped off from people trying to get them off and not being able to. So this is our first obstacle removing the set knob. And the best way to do it, well worth your time, is to get a pair of small vice grips. Okay, the needle nose vice grips, and the distance this direction, you want that to be as small as possible. Okay, if it's too big, it's not going to fit in there. This is a pair I got from Harbor Freight, really cheap, and it's nice and skinny, and it serves the purpose. The other thing that I strongly recommend is, if you go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby, they sell these strips of suede, and take this suede and glue it onto the teeth here of the vice grips, and that way when you use this, you don't scar up and the metal that it's attached to. So these set knobs will pull out a little bit, so I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to slide the vice grips in there and clamp it down, and then that will prevent the stem from turning when I turn the set knob. Now, I have a pair of pliers which I've also put leather on the teeth here, because I don't want to damage the knob and get it all nasty. And all I got to do is I've got to turn it clockwise, the opposite of what you usually do. So if I do that, it should come loose. And then once it's loose, I can remove it just like that. This is probably the most difficult part of this whole procedure when you're talking about these the time-only clocks produced. So that's once I've got that done, I can do is come in with a screwdriver and remove the case screws, and that's simple enough. I do have this where I put my small parts so they don't roll off on me, but I will tell you, I work on more than one clock at a time. So when I start a clock, what I will do is I'll get one of these shoe boxes. They're about $1 at Walmart. I put a piece of tape telling me which clock it is, and I'm going to keep all the parts in this shoe box. And the reason is because I work on many, and I might start one and not come back to it for a month or even 2, and this makes sure that I keep everything together so I can pick it back up again when I want. If you're only doing one clock, of course, just having a box to put stuff in would work. What I also do is I got these little containers from Walmart, really cheap, and I'll just put on there which clock I'm working on, and I put my small parts in there. So now I've removed the set screws from the case. I can remove the back of this, and there we see the clock movement. Now, this particular model is Bakelite, and I can just take the case right off of there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the case in my shoebox off to the side, and now I'm going to start to disassemble the movement. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the field coil screws. Okay, so on the schematic, that's number 15, and that's right here. So you're going to have field coil screws, and they're going to have these lock washers with them. And after I take these 2 screws out, it's going to loosen up some other parts. So there's one. Here's the other. And what these 2 screws are doing is it's holding the coil to the back plate. This is the coil, this is the back plate. And the coil is actually sandwiching in this part we call the rotor, and also these right here, which are the spreader posts. So once you remove the 2 field screws, you can remove the coil. This is an unusual situation here. Usually this just slips right off. But you can remove the coil and the rotor. the rotor will just come right out. Okay, so there I have that. Now, this situation that I'm dealing with, it looks like the set shaft has been screwed up from somebody whaling on it. So it's created these burrs that won't allow the coil to just slip off. So I'm going to take a hobby file. I'm just going to hit it like this. Should be able to knock it back enough so that the coil can slip over. This is very unusual, and it's never actually happened to me that I've encountered this problem. But it's easy enough to get around. It just might take a minute to get the burrs off of here. And this set shaft is going to work just fine. It's got these marks in it, but those marks won't be seen once the clock is put back together again. So let's see if I can get it off now. Nope, I cannot. All right. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more. Something that I should mention about the coil is we want to be very careful with the coil and these leads right here on the coil. If those leads pop off of there, which is very easy for that to happen, that's going to cause a big problem. That'll mean that the coil will not work unless those leads are reattached. And reattaching those leads is no easy feat. It can be done. It is possible, but it's not fun and it's not easy. Okay, I think I might have got enough. Let's see. There we go. So, like I said, your clock, chances are you're not going to have to do that. It's just going to slip right off of that. The next thing we want to do here is take this spring off, all right, and put it in a safe place. So we can take the coil and the rotor and put that in our shoebox for now. And if we're going to clean the movement being all these inner parts here, then we're going to have to do certain things, okay? And with this model clock, it's going to start with removing this silver piece right here, which is called a bezel. Now, something that's not good about this design is this bezel is being held onto the front plate by these little tabs. If you bend these tabs too many times, they'll snap off. In fact, one of them is snapped off right here. It's not present. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to just gently pull them up and hope that they don't break off, hope that they haven't been bent so many times that they break off. What most people will do is they will only bend these as much as they have to in order to remove the bezel. So, and a lot of times you can leave two of these bent completely. But that's an important thing for what's coming down the road if we want to be able to attach the bezel again. So now what I have is I have the bezel here and I have the lens. And with these clocks, these are referred to as lenses. So I'm going to put those off to the side. My next step is going to be to remove the hands. Now, this can be done without an investment by taking a piece of cardboard, okay, or really anything, okay, like, for instance, something like this, and sliding it in there, okay, and then prying off the hand with something like a screwdriver. That can be done, okay, but what I did is I went onto eBay, and it wasn't under clock repair, it was under watch repair. Have these tools look like this, and they're designed to remove hands from watches, and they work perfectly on these clocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and attach it there and then gently rock back and forth okay, until it comes off. And I want to put that in a safe place. Okay, and then do the next one. They're usually stuck on there to some degree by the oil in the rotor that is vaporized and come out here and then settled. Okay, so now I've removed the hands. That's going to allow me to remove the face. Now, one thing I don't like about this model, the Domino, and I have a couple of them, is usually GE Telechron used a painted face. But on this model, they used a paper face. And the paper just doesn't hold up like the painted metal. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. This is not going to be found typically on your GE Telechron, but you may encounter it. This is a clip that holds the paper face on there, so we want to save that. So now that I remove that, I can remove the paper face. And I'm going to put that someplace safe, like in my shoebox. And now I'm left with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the front plate screws. There's 3 of them. And when I do this, the front plate and the back plate are going to separate. And all the stuff inside in between is going to be loose, and I'm going to be able to take that out, and then I'll be able to clean it. And this is pretty common for all the time only clocks. Little variations, but pretty much all the same. So now I've removed those. The front plate should come away from the back plate, and this is what I have now. This right here is stuck in the front plate, okay? And this right here is the hour hand sleeve. So I want to take that out to clean it separately from the front plate. This right here is the setting gear assembly, okay? So I'm going to take that off. After that, I have the minute hand sleeve, okay? And then finally the sweep hands or second hand shaft. So I take that off. This is the set gear shaft, or I mean time set shaft. And number 9 here is the set shaft sleeve. Now, generally this would just slide right off, okay? But because I have these burrs on the shaft, it's not wanting to do that. So at a later date, I'm going to take my file and do some more work on this, and then it'll come off, and I can clean those separately. Now, this right here, there isn't really any cleaning that can be done to this, okay? This is the indicator assembly, or power indicator is what I call it. And what I'll sometimes do if it's a little bit yucky is I'll take a drop of something like 3-in-1 oil, put it on there, and then gently take a Q-tip and wipe it off, and that can clean it up. This one is in good shape. Doesn't look like I'm going to really need to do anything to it, so I'm just going to put it off to the side. Now, this piece I want to clean, and this piece I want to clean, and all the guts here, okay? I usually have 2 different little containers when I take a clock apart. One of them is I put the pieces that I am not going to put in a tank, okay? I have a ultrasonic tank, and I clean the pieces with that. So what I usually do is have one with the parts that I'm not going to tank, and then the other, I put the parts that I am going to tank. The parts that I'm not going to tank, any cleaning that I do is going to be done by hand, okay? But all of the parts of the movement here, that's all going to go into the ultrasonic cleaner to be cleaned, along with the front plate and the back plate. And I usually would just throw in the spreader posts and the field post assemblies, just because it's not going to do them any harm. Even the spring, even though it's not really necessary. All right, so I have an ultrasonic cleaner, and I buy a special clock cleaning fluid. to run this through. But what I'm going to tell you is, if you're only doing one clock, it's not necessary for you to have an ultrasonic cleaner. It's not necessary for you to have a special clock cleaning anything, okay? Well, if you want your clock to run well, then you need to get all the nasty stuff off of it. This one really isn't that dirty, okay? But since I have it apart, I'm going to want to clean it. And I will tell you something, if you want to do it by hand, it's an inexpensive way to make sure you get it nice and clean. Brasso, okay, which I can buy at the Home Depot, is really good at removing all this residue, okay? So I'll put some on there, let it sit for a minute or two, take a cotton swab, and just rub it and get all that off of there. Lacquer thinner can work too, but I actually think that Brasso cleans it faster. You don't want to leave any Brasso on the plates or the gears. You want to make sure that's all off. After if you clean it with Brasso, you can wash the parts with hot water. It's not going to harm anything, but you want to make sure all the parts are dry before reassembly. So that's the beginning of it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up these parts, and then in the next video I will show you how I deal with the rotor and the coil, which is really going to be the heart of the matter if you want your GE Telechron clock to run.